Hello, welcome to the Wise Way to Success podcast. So the 8-year-old in me right now is screaming of joy and excitement. I have Archie artist Dan Parent, who is going to talk to us today about the power of humor, comics, and how he has created such a fantastic, oh my goodness, incredible line of Archie Comics. He has his own series called Die Kitty Die as well. And he's going to talk about, Archie, Betty, Veronica. Maybe he'll give us some dirt on who Archie is finally going to choose. I think he chose Betty once, Veronica another time, who knows? So join us. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you and organizing this. So I guess I'm going to ask the question we all want to know. What is it about Archie, Betty, and Veronica that draws people in so much?
We don't know exactly what it is, but there's a chemistry between the characters that draws people. Most people, especially I think in US and Canada, grew up on Archie Comics, so they just have this investment in the characters. And I think everybody has grown up with the characters, and we feel like they're all part of our lives, and which is the reason that the Archie world just continues on and on.
So you draw these characters, you create these stories, everything. What do you enjoy the most, if I could ask, about creating new stories and covers and everything? What do you enjoy about that?
Well, I am basically an Archie fan at heart too. So because I grew up reading the Archie comics and I wanted to always, work for them. So I think I just enjoy the process. I enjoy the process of writing because I just like exploring the different things you can do with the characters. Probably my favorite part is still drawing because I'm still an artist more at heart. So when I'm sitting at a drawing table, actually doing the drawing, that's when I'm sort of at my peak of happiness, because it's just something that brings me a lot of joy is to do that.
Okay, well, these comics bring a lot of joy to people. I know that when I was a child, I was looking forward to they would come out every Wednesday, new issues, and I was super excited to get them. What do you think about these characters, these stories that bring comfort and joy to people?
Yeah, I think, again, there's a familiarity with the characters, where you almost feel like they're your own family or friends because you grew up with them. So, Riverdale is a very soothing place. Everybody would like to live in a town like Riverdale, even if you don't get to. So it's a really good escape. And Riverdale basically is a place where, there's a group of friends that hang out, and there's never too much violence going on there, or too many horrible things going on. It's a pretty safe place to be. So it's an idyllic place, and I think that's what draws a lot of kids into it, and what keeps a lot of adults reading it, because we all want to escape to those safe places.
So I'm curious, you've been drawing, for so many decades already, Archie characters and stories and different issues. Do you have a favorite story that you say, you know what, I know I've done a lot, but this one is a story that I just love? Do you have any favorite?
There's so many, and sometimes I'll think of one, and then that'll be my favorite. But then I remember another one, and that one I think is my favorite. So there's so many, but the one of the ones that I always come back to is it was sort of like the first big splash I made at Archie was when we did the Love Showdown storyline back in the 90s. And that was when we had made this big storyline about Archie was going to choose somebody different than Betty and Veronica, which he hadn't done before. So it was really the first time we got a lot of media attention, like national attention for it. And I think just because it kind of triggered something in people, like, oh my God, Archie, he's always been with Betty and Veronica, what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. And at that point, what we did was we brought back the character of Cheryl Blossom into the mix, because she had been around in the 80s, early 80s, and then she disappeared for a while, basically because the character was a little racy for Archie at the time, and they weren't really sure what to do with her, so they just sort of like let her go for a while. But we always liked Cheryl, me and a few of the other writers and artists at the time, and Bill Collier, the guy who I wrote the story with. So we thought it would be fun to bring her back, in which we did bring her back, and to much success, she had a very successful series that ran for a long time after that.
So, it's interesting because
and it's still part of Archie now too, but now she's on Riverdale too now. So.
Yes, and it's so interesting because I remember that Love Showdown very well. It was 4 parts, 4 different covers from 4 different series. I remember that very well. That showdown.
Yep.
Loved the covers of that one. Very special. And I actually have the Love Showdown, I think, displayed here on my table. A Love Showdown after the issues were over, there was a continuative story line about that. And then, of course, Cheryl had her own storyline. That was a great one. There was also, I remember, the marriage, Archie marrying Veronica, which was really a big storyline too.
Right.
And then, of course, Archie died. I mean, I know we were talking about how Riverdale's not a very violent place, but Archie gets killed in one of the series too. What about those storylines? What do you think of those ones?
Those were fun. I liked the Archie married series because what happened was we married him off in the Archie title, and there's one series he marries Betty, one series he marries Veronica. Then it was so popular they created the Life with Archie, or actually relaunched the Our Life with Archie title with both of those storylines going on. So you had, if you're an Archie fan, or if you're a Betty fan, you had the Betty storyline. If you're a Veronica fan, you had the Veronica storyline you could follow. And that ran for a while. And then in that series, when they ended the series, they wanted to end it with a bang, literally. So they killed Archie in the last issue, which of course, Archie lives on in all our other books. But in that series,
yes.
Since it's in the future and he's an adult, they were able to get away with doing that, and it was pretty intense because you had to sort of see how the Archie world revolved or went on without him. But you didn't have to see that for very long because that was basically the end of the series. So, but again, that got a lot of attention from readers and from the media because when you're killing off a popular character, people are like, what? Like, how's this going to work? But it's comic books.
I remember getting a call saying to me, are you okay? I just heard that Archie died. And I'm like, what do you mean Archie died? I'm so known for my love of Archie comics and everything that I was like, I think I'll be okay. I think I know the universes and the universes are alternate. And of course, Archie #1, a relaunch came on after that, which relaunched the whole Archie series with a new look and a new style. Is that right?
Right. Yes.
So I know you've also created Kevin Keller, which was a very big thing. Who is your favorite? If I could ask this question, hopefully none of the characters will take offense to this, but who do you enjoy drawing the most? If you do have a favorite.
Again, it changes a lot. Veronica was always my favorite character for many years. So drawing Veronica was always fun. I always preferred drawing Veronica over Betty. I'm not sure why. There you go. That was an old issue of Veronica. But yeah, I always enjoyed drawing Veronica, even though they're basically the same face and strip bodies and everything. Veronica just always appealed more to me. Not that I don't love Betty too. But I still love to draw. Like Jughead is a lot of fun to draw just because he's so different from the other characters. I would have to say again that changes a lot. But and then that was your pal Archie, which was a fun book. So I guess I have to go and say Veronica and Jughead. I'd have to say are my favorites to draw.
I have to say, so I was collecting Archie comics since the late 80s. I probably still in my own way collect Archie comics. I buy some here and there still. But you made some really beautiful Veronica covers. I have to say, I was going through my collection and we have Veronica, in Barbados, Veronica in London, Veronica in Greece. I mean, I have to say that you created some beautiful, beautiful artwork.
Oh, thank you. That was fun. That was my first actual full series was the Veronica book. It was actually the first time Veronica had her own comic book. Veronica never had her own series until the late 80s. And I was the first one to work on it. And we started the series where she traveled around the world. So the first 18 issues of Veronica, it's like Veronica in Paris and Veronica in Mexico, Veronica in London. She traveled every issue. So it was sort of like, it was fun to draw. And it was a little bit of like a geography lesson for kids without having to be too technical.
And I remember I was like, where's Veronica going now? She went to Texas. I mean, Veronica was all over. And then you created the little digest called Veronica's Passport,
Right.
which had all the issues inside
Right.
from the storylines there. It was really fantastic, I have to say. If you haven't checked out the Veronica Trips, absolutely do so. Just to show you, this is the Cheryl Blossom, the racy character that Dan was talking about. She had her own series. Also beautifully drawn, wonderful stories. I remember picking those up and just loving them because they're so visually stunning. Dan, what is something that you would like to say to your fans right now, especially during these tough, challenging times where I think we get a lot of comfort now, even more than ever, from these characters, from going into their universe with everything that's going on in the world with the pandemic.
Right.
What would you like to say to your fans right now?
Well, I like to say I thank every one of them because they're the ones that keep me employed in doing what I love. And even though these are really tough times, the Archie fans are still definitely there. We're still selling a lot of digests and a lot of comics in stores because people are, they're picking them up because, again, it's like a comfort to people, and we still need our entertainment even in these times. And even though I do a lot of usually conventions and I meet a lot of fans person to person, and that hasn't been happening yet, or right now, it won't happen until 2021 probably. It's been great still communicating back and forth with the fans. I'm still doing a lot of commissions for people at home. So people that haven't even been able to go to conventions have been able to contact me and still get their sketches. So it's been good. The contact is still there, and it just makes it better right now to look forward to next year, was when we get back together again in person. It'll just be that much nicer.
I had the honor of meeting you at the 2016 Comic-Con. This is actually one of the artwork that I had Dan make for me. It's from his series Die Kitty Die. And Dan, I'm curious because I haven't seen it and maybe I missed it, but are you going to make any mention of the pandemic? Are you going to bring this to the Archie universe? I haven't seen them with masks. Maybe I missed something. Are you going to bring the pandemic to Riverdale?
We haven't yet. And I think the reason is because Archie is sort of like an escape. So people, when they're going to escape, they probably want to not be in the pandemic anymore. Not that it might, I think it actually might be a better story to do when we're coming out of it, or out of it maybe. People, I know, like with television shows, from what I've understood, like some of the TV shows that have come back on the air this fall have been addressing the pandemic. And from what I've read from what the TV networks have discovered is that people prefer not to have the shows in the pandemic, or prefer them to touch on it and then just go back to like the way it was. So I don't know. I mean, if Archie specifically asked me to do something like a storyline with the pandemic, I think I would do it. But basically, we're just sort of staying in the world of Riverdale where the pandemic never occurred for now.
Yeah, no, I saw that you made, it was actually pretty cool. I saw that you made like a mock cover in which you had it was like the isolation edition.
Yeah, I did a quarantine print.
Yeah,
yes.
it's a quarantine.
I did
exactly.
Quarantine print. It's just the soda sitting there with nobody drinking it. Yeah.
Ironically,
so that was probably my ode to the pandemic, and so I was selling those prints online. Yeah, so that was probably the only thing I really done to show the pandemic.
Because we all know, let's be real here. We all know that Archie, Betty, and Veronica do not practice social distancing. We could safely say they do not practice social distancing, and I'm not convinced they would, even if
that would be a good story, actually, to do a story about how they try and social distance. That would be an interesting story. So we may have to end up doing it. We'll have to see. Can
you imagine, Dan, Betty, and Veronica trying to social distance from Archie? They are going to find their loopholes. I guarantee you Veronica will buy a luxury mask to outdo Betty to get her hands on Archie during this pandemic.
Yes, I can see that. She probably would.
So
or I guess you're creating some sort of bubble around her where she could sort of like just like walk and do everything she needed to do, but she'd be like surrounded by some sort of bubble. So there's a story right there. I'll have to talk to my editors.
Love it. I'm going to buy the special edition. Make it a 4-part series with 200 alternate covers.
Yes. Sounds good.
200 alternate covers. Knowing me, I'll buy all of them.
All right.
So Dan, how can people reach you, find you? Please let us know how to contact you.
Okay, well, I'm pretty easy to find. I have a website, danparent.com. On Twitter, I'm at Parent Daniel. On Instagram, I'm at Parent Daniel. Facebook, it's just Google Face. Look for me on Facebook. I pop up. I don't know what my exact link is on Facebook, but I'm on Facebook. And my email is danparent@hotmail.com. So if people want to email me, they can. So I'm pretty easy to find, and I'm pretty accessible.
That's great. And if people want to commission from you, what does that entail? Like, what does that mean? You do commissions or you do sketches. What does that mean to people who might not know?
People just contact me, and sometimes they'll just tell me what they're looking for, and I'll give them a price. Mm-hmm. Or if they're wondering what my prices are, I just send them a price list. I give a price list I send out, and then people they tell me what they like, and then usually they pay me through PayPal, which is easy, and I start sketching, and I usually send them a sketch before I send it out, before I color it, so they can get an idea of what I'm doing, and just back and forth, and then I mail it out to them, and then we're good to go. Perfect.
Well, Dan, it's been an honor to have this time to get into your creative mind. Thank you so much for taking the time to share, your thoughts and feedback about what's going on with the pandemic and with Archie, the world of Archie. It's been a pleasure having you here on The Wise Way to Success. And you know what? I want to say I'm very grateful, because part of The Wise Way to Success for me was getting comfort with these wonderful characters, and during hard times, challenging times, be able to escape to a place called Riverdale. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.